Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with, like a 6-hour-old pink drink I'm finishing and a stack of wonderful books. So let's get started and just hop right in. So just today I saw Jess Conte made, if you don't know her, you need to check her out. She is a Christian mom and just amazing. She posted on a new channel just all of the books she's read so far in January and just rating them and talking about them a little bit. So I thought, that's so fun. I've been wanting to film and not really knowing what to film, so let's just hop into it and share all the books I've read in January so far, what I rated them, if I would recommend them to you, and I would love your comments in the comment section of what you have read that you're like, hey, I think you would like this. So I have been in my nonfiction era. I haven't only read nonfiction this year, but I'm in a season of just really wanting to work on me physically, work on me emotionally, spiritually, all the things. And in that realm, it has made it that I want to focus more on household, managing a household, being the best mom I can be, learning more about my kids and just in kind of a soaking in information. And so a lot of my books are nonfiction. I normally I only read a couple nonfiction all last year, but for some reason this year I'm just loving them. And so I'm gonna go through all the books I've read in January, plus one honorable mention from December because I read it after I did my last book video of my favorites for the year, and it was probably in my top 3 of my all-time favorite books in 2023. And so I'm gonna start with that one. It's not January. It was not a January read, it was a December read, but it was end of December, so that's basically the same thing. So the book I read, my honorable mention, is Habits of the Household. So this book is practicing the story of God in everyday family rhythms. If you are married with young children, this book is for you. This book is all about just the practical. I'm a type A. I love type A, Enneagram 1. I just love a good practical, what can I do to be better in this area kind of vibe. And this is all just about finding meaning in the daily rhythms, the chaos, all of that of raising young children. It gives practical steps, things where we want to implement that in 5 years, 10 years, but also things that we're let's start that now. And there have been things we have started as a family since reading this book, and it's just so good. It's a short read, it's a quick read, and there's all different things that are related to you and your spouse, things are related as a family as a whole, things as, the kids with the parents, and just honestly, just a hands down 5 out of 5 read for any young parent. This will change your life. My first January read was a book that I have already sold because I hated it. Not a good start, right? So this is the book All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. Here's the deal. There were parts in this book that I would have said 5 stars. There were points in this book when I would have said, 3.5, 4 stars. But the end of the book was morbid. The end of the book made me instantly well up and start crying. My husband actually had to pray over me because he was I don't want you thinking about what just went down in that book, because I told it to him with tears in my eyes and I was crying, and as a parent, and also just the book did not need to go that far. Clearly Ashley Flowers is not a parent, or at least I don't know, is numb to everything. I don't know, because this was just morbid and awful how it ended. And so I'm kind of man, I was really liking the book. So I gave it a 2 stars because up until the end I would have given it a 4, but I just can't deal with a morbid ending that was uncalled for. The next book I have read in January is Run on Red. Now, this has been a book I have wanted to read. It was on my TBR for basically all of 2023, but every bookstore I would ask, no one would find it. It was actually one that I saw on Jess Conte's TBR, or one that I put on my TBR because of her recommending it. And I was I gotta read it, but I could never find it. And so it was just I had other books. And then this year I was this is the year I gotta actually read that book. So I ordered it on Amazon and I liked it, but I didn't love it. So I gave it a 3 stars, and here's why. If you are into action throughout the entire book and don't really care about like character development or much of a plot, you just like action, then this would be a mystery for you. Action is literally from the start and goes until the end. But for me, it felt like I was reliving the same action over and over and over to where it was way too predictable for me. It was way too predictable. It was like the action was good, but by the time I got halfway through the book, I was ready for it to be over because I was like, I get it. We've done that. Stop it. Stop repeating yourself. And I was just really over it. And so 3 stars, a good mystery, but not anything that I would be like, you need to read this right now because it's so good. The next book is Raising Emotionally Strong Boys by David Thomas. Now, I have a son. He's 2.5. And ideally, most of the stuff that would be talked about in this book would be for an older son. But I felt like it was practical for my mindset in prepping it. Does that make sense? Any parents out there understand that? It challenges what society says about masculinity in a sense of getting boys in tune with their emotions and with their feelings and how guys are wired. And honestly, so good. I made my husband read it right after me and he also loved it. And so we have both of our notes just in here that is just so good. He's also a youth pastor and he was like, this is great and I can implement stuff right away with some of like the young men in the ministry. So if you are, you know, either in ministry with teenage boys, or have a son of your own, or are even a man who just wants to read more and grow more as a Christian, this is all written from a Christian perspective. It is a 5 out of 5. Any parent who has a son or is a man who has kids, this is for you. There is research, there are studies, but it is primarily based off of the Bible. And this guy works with boys. I think he's a counselor, but it was life-changing for my mindset of raising a son. So if you have a son, do not walk, but run to get this book. My next book makes me laugh. I gave it 1 star. It is Goodbye Things. It is a Japanese minimalism book. Now, when I put this on my TBR last year, I was really into simplifying and keeping things more minimal. Am I still into that? Yes, I love that. But this guy takes minimalism to the extent where he does not even own a bed. He shows pictures of his apartment and I'm like, that's awful. No one wants to live there. The reviews on Goodreads for this one are actually pretty funny because some people were just like really ripping at the fact that like how boring he was. I feel like this could have been written in a blog post that I could have read and been like, you know, Fumio, great for you that you are the most hardcore minimalist I have ever known, but I don't really care to be anything like that. I'm gonna read my Goodreads review because I read this beginning of January, so it's a little bit foggy because I blocked it out of my memory. So I said, I enjoy reading about how to minimize my possessions and live a simpler life. I think it's beneficial and is important. But this book is on a whole different level when it comes to minimalism. This guy is insane. He makes all these crazy assumptions and statements that aren't backed up by facts about minimizing your possessions being the reason he is skinny, the reason his girlfriend broke up with him, etc. He also could have written all of this in a blog post and not even an entire book. He repeated himself over and over. I got very bored very quickly. Minimalism is this man's full-on identity, which is very unhealthy in my opinion. Will not be reading again. So he literally made assumptions about the fact that he used to be like bigger in weight. And when he simplified, when he became a minimalist, it made him lose weight. And now like he just took on minimalism as his entire identity. And that's not really for me. Like, that's great that you live in like a 200 square foot apartment with no bed and sleep on this little roll up mattress thing. Good for you. But here's the deal. I like a pillow. I like a bed. And there are ways to keep things simple without making it like your full-on life. The next one I'm stoked about, that is The Silent Patient. Now this was a reread. I had read this in 2022 and it was a 5-star read. Read it in like 2 days on the beach. So my family, so I had just one child at the time. My husband, my mom, my dad, and my son and myself drove 17 hours to Marco Island, Florida, had a vacation for a week, and drove 17 hours back home with a 10-month-old in the car. Like, bravo to all of us for doing that, honestly, and he did amazing, so bravo to him. But Trevor, my husband, read this on the drive, in between like shifts of driving with my dad. He read the whole thing in about a day. Then he was like, Tia, you need to read this book. And if you know me, I was just starting to I like wasn't really into reading at this time. I was just kind of like, but once I actually opened it, couldn't put it down. Read it in like 2 to 3 days. Then after that, I was like, Dad, you need to read this book. My dad read it in 2 to 3 days. Then he gave it to my mom. My mom read this book in 2 to 3 days. My mom and dad do not read fiction. We all read it over the span of this 8-day vacation, and we all said 5 out of 5. My mom's one critique was she was like, it was really good. I just wish they wouldn't use the F word as much. So there is a lot of F word, but here's the deal. If you are into a mystery that from the start, like you are not going to guess what happens, 0% you're going to know how this rolls out. It keeps you on your toes. It's wonderful. Like it was written in such a beautiful way, but also in a way that you're just like, how? Like it keeps you guessing and you have questions. And it's one of those that like, if you read it with someone or like talk about it with someone who's also read it, it's such a fun conversation. So this was a reread. I didn't know if I would like rereading a mystery, but it had been enough years that I was like, I've forgotten enough, and I still gave it 5 out of 5. Wonderful, probably the best mystery that I've ever read, and maybe the best I will ever read because it was that good. The next book I do not have because it's out to a friend right now. Love the fact that I can loan books out to people and that they can enjoy, and that's one of the reasons like my husband and I love reading and talking about it and having our bookshelf and like talking to people about books and borrowing them. It's so fun. So this one I actually mentioned in my last vlog, so I won't talk about it a lot because I already went on a 3-minute rant about it. But it's called M is for Mama, A Rebellion Against Mediocre Motherhood by Abby Halberstadt. So this book, if you are a Christian mom, you need to read it. Like she just talks about how society views motherhood and how as a Christian you should view motherhood. And that's all I'll say. It's just a 5 out of 5 must read for any mom. The next book kind of goes hand in hand with raising the emotionally strong boys. I had to remind myself what it was called. This is by Sissy Goff, who did the foreword in the Raising Emotionally Strong Boys. Very good friends with that author. But this is Raising Worry-Free Girls. So they're not like together, but they're like friends who have like talked about it, and she did the foreword in his book and all that. So basically it's talking about how young girls tend to struggle with anxiety and worry, and this is coming from a biblical counselor who works with young girls every single day, and just kind of talking about how you can help your daughter feel braver, stronger, and smarter in an anxious world. I gave it a 4. For a lot of reasons, and I want to look at my Goodreads review to remind myself. So basically the cons was I felt like the first 2/3 of the book was kind of like a downer a little bit. It was kind of all about the definitions, the research of anxiety, all the things, and how your brain works. It was good, but like it didn't get to the hopeful part until like I was like 80% done with the book. And at that point I was like, okay, I get it. Anxiety is a big deal. Where's the hope in this? And so I didn't love that. If you're not in a season of having a daughter who is at least like 8 years old or older, this probably isn't going to pertain to you. And so that was me. I was like, you know, this is really good stuff, but my daughter is 18 months old at the time, not even 18 months old. And I was like, this doesn't really apply. So in a nonfiction book that you feel like you can't apply, you just don't like it enough. But I had to keep that kind of out of my rating because I was like, I need to go more off of how it's written, not if it's applicable right now. Because I knew that my 18-month-old isn't struggling with anxiety, but I knew that it'd be good to read for the future. But I just felt like it was repeated a lot. And again, good stuff. I still gave it a 4. I would still recommend it, but probably don't read it unless you are like actually want to help your daughter overcome anxiety or like worry or anxious thoughts. Or honestly, if you are a parent and you are struggling with anxiety or worry, I would say give this a go yourself because it is good. It just could have been shortened and she repeated herself a lot, and it's already not that long of a book, but like it definitely could have been shortened. My last book that I read in January, also I'm like really proud that I read this many books in January. Let's just like give myself a little pat on the back that I'm already, I don't even know how many books this is, like 8 or 9 in 1 month. I feel pretty proud about that. The next book was The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. let's just say I didn't really know much. I just knew it was popular. I knew that I had had multiple people read it who liked it. But the prologue was very like, there was some sexual imagery happening right from the start that I literally was like sitting next to my husband. I think he was reading the Raising Emotionally Strong Boys book. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect this. And then the next page I was like, oh, okay. It's just some weird imagery that's sexual, in the sense that like, just some like, I don't know, just like a little bit more than I would have liked. It's not like all the time, but it was definitely more than I would have preferred. What I didn't like, so I rated this book a 3. I really liked the basic plot of it. I really enjoyed how at the end it actually like went into detail, how some mysteries, you know, they like give you the shocker and then it's done and it like leaves you guessing. That's fun in some scenarios, but in this book I did genuinely like how it went into like actual detail about what happened, and it really felt like a full circle moment. I liked that. My main thing I didn't like about this book was that neither character I liked. Neither main character I felt like I was rooting for and I felt like was a good person. They both kind of felt like just, I was like, you're not a good wife, you're not a good husband, you're not a good person, you're like, come on, who am I supposed to want to like win in this scenario? Like neither of you, because you both like have a lot of crap in your life you need to deal with. So it just didn't really feel like I had somebody who I was like, I really like this character, I really hope this goes away, or goes a certain way. But I did like it. I did give it a 3. It was kind of that like I debated between a 3 and a 4 so hard, and Goodreads doesn't let you do half stars, so I always tell myself I have to pick a full number. I'm not going in the middle. So I gave it a 3. But overall, good. It is very popular, so a lot of people who like mysteries have probably read it and would be able to enjoy a conversation about it. Just not one I will probably read again, but still one that is good, but just not like a favorite. So my top 3 books that I read in January, we won't get the one, my honorable mention will not be included in this. My top 3 of the 8 books that I've read so far in January would be Raising Emotionally Strong Boys, 5 out of 5. Silent Patient, 5 out of 5, and M is for Mama, A Rebellion Against Mediocre Motherhood, 5 out of 5. So I feel like this month I read a lot of 5-star and a lot of like, I didn't really like this that much. Not a ton in the middle, more so like great or awful. So those are my top 3. You should let me know if you read any of those or have read any of those, and please put your book recommendations in the comments. I love reading and I'm excited to just continue doing more book videos and just talking more about books and having book conversations with all of you. So thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.